We're here at Red Bull Hardline. It's practice day. We're here with none other, all-round nice guy, professional mountain bike racer and man of the people, Eddie Masters. We're going to talk some tech, talk some bikes, take a look at the course and see what we get, eh?
I think we're going to see some sights, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Let's get into it, eh?
Sweet. Oh. Boom! It is rollable, but I wouldn't recommend it. Wait.
So straight out the start, Huck, we have something that, for something like this, would you be changing your pressure settings for Hardline?
Yeah, a lot of the riders are like making their bikes harder, and maybe slowing down the rebound a little bit, because there's a lot of like flat drops where you don't want the bike rebounding out, because then you're going to be losing traction. So they are kind of like, I guess, sacrificing a bit of the feeling of the bike.
Yes, just to a bit of stability, I guess.
Yeah, just to make it better on the big hits.
And if you could get, have a Hardline tyre, do you think you would want something just like, almost like a triple ply, just to be absolutely raucous, or would you not?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of, like, we are seeing a lot of flat tyres, because like the rocks here is really sharp. But in terms of like there being a perfect tyre, I don't think there is one, because when it's dry, it's pretty loose, and when it's wet, it's just like extremely slippery. Yeah, it's literally like an ice rink. Yeah. So like, I think you'd just be like 6.5 dozen. It's
totally.
So traction is definitely something that the riders don't have, and then when they do have it, it's for the jumps. So
totally.
Yeah.
I mean, holy.
And there is a perfect example of the huck to flat, and then I think we'll see guys who are going to nibble down the rock as well. Yeah.
That was
he
must have ankles of steel. Yeah, pretty impressive, man. Should we have a little nosy down, see what we get? But coming from that compression up there, which we saw Alex do, which was incredibly hard, so then you think all the support you're going to demand from your fork and from your shock, compared to something like that which is so many small hits and small bump sensitivity is going to be a premium.
To set your bike up at Hardline, you're constantly going to be chasing your tail, because you're going to like, hey, I've given up the small bump sensitivity to favour myself when it's like the big hits.
I almost wonder if you could get something like, you see the, it's actually Mojo that do the preload stuff above your steerer, and they strap lead to the down tube and stuff. Because then you could keep the super hard compression settings, but instead of lifting the whole bike on that small bump, maybe it could push the bike into its stroke. And potentially, although it'd be a heavier bike, it might be a bit weird on some of the bigger features, but could potentially make the bike work. I mean, it's so hard.
And like, you've got to bear in mind is like that for a race like this, no one does any testing. So there's no, a lot of it is like hearsay. It's like someone will be like, oh, we made our bikes harder for Rampage, and then they'll be like, okay, sweet, we'll do the same thing at Hardline. So like, you don't actually know that what you're doing is right.
Yeah, totally.
But everyone's just like kind of.
But I suppose you must be in like a circuit loop, where everyone be a feedback loop, and been like, well, he's doing it, I'm doing it because he's doing it.
So it just snowballs, and then all of a sudden everyone's on the same setup, but it might not actually be the right one.
It might not be the right one. Well, there you go.
Put your wheel up there and then just hop on. It's hard because everyone asks you for advice and you're like, well, I haven't actually ridden it, but I'm here to hand out free advice. Backseat driving. Lovely.
So we've gone from high-speed hucking to incredibly delicate tech work. So we come off this huge drop, although relatively slow speed is pretty demanding. When we talk about something like that, how much does geometry play its part? We talk about long reach, bikes, super stable. Is that something you're thankful of when you're kind of coming into off-camber terrain like
that? Yeah. So like, this course is, I think your best weapon of choice is your just straight out race bike setup with that kind of geometry, because like the slack head angle, bit more space in the reach, long wheelbase, all helps when like things are pretty prone to getting a bit out of shape. So like just like that extra stability that you get from the geometry it's going to be super helpful.
Totally.
2 years ago, you know, teams weren't doing as much telemetry and stuff, and then you've got like Bruni's approach, you know, like Minar, he's like down to the details. But for me, I think to like make the next step to the next like level in downhill, I'm talking in downhill, would require me to like put a lot more emphasis on setup, doing a lot more testing, because I just basically set my bike up for the whole year and ride it like that. You're seeing how Bruni races, you know, the races are so tight, the margins, that you've really got to look at the marginal gains that you can get outside of like you just riding skill.
And with Loic, but the way his bike tracks the ground is just unparalleled.
I'm like, it's like a magic carpet.
Yeah, it's
and
remarkable,
that is because of the effort that they're putting in behind the scenes.
Are you just trusting the course builders and thinking, they probably got it right, off the brakes and through she goes?
So there's like riders who have been here before, and they will be like, okay, here's the brief.
This is the recipe.
And they'll say, come in here, 2 pedals, jump over this rock, no brakes, and a little bit of a pull.
Yeah.
And you just trust that they're not going to throw you under the bus.
But if you have a harsh bottom out and something like that, do you think, oh, fair cop, that was my bad? Or are you straight away looking to set up? It must be a case by case, like.
Yeah, and that's like, the thing is like, through practice, you will see guys like adjusting their setup. You can't be like, okay, I'm going to go up to like 86 PSI. And that's the magic number.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So you might like have to go like 3 plus or minus 3 PSI of like where your ballpark is. But like bottoming out is good as well.
Yes,
it's like,
of course,
you know, like you should expect to bottom out, especially on a course like this.
Yeah, of course, If you've got that much spare at the bottom.
Yeah. Like if you're not using all your travel and you're hitting stuff like this, then you've gone too hard.
Yeah. You heard Brendan go through there and tap the rear brake.
Yeah, and
just to keep the nose down.
Yeah, all the riders are doing it because coming out of we've got about a 60-foot step down leading into this section. So you're probably coming out of these trees at close to 60 k's an hour, and you really need to scrub your speed off. Yeah. But then one thing that the riders are being real careful is to not drag brake on the lip because that's going to like pack the bike down differently. Another thing like that's kind of tech related is like this roller here is almost for a reason. So that like when you go over it, the bike starts packing down. Yes. And then you're much less likely to get bucked hitting a lip like that, which is actually quite steep. This whole area here is clay. When you put that on the rocks, it's like super slippery. Yeah.
I saw Brendan actually running some DHR2s, which I thought would be obviously super good on that man-made stuff. Similar to say the Conti Kaiser or something like that. Really, really good, but when you come, I thought it would almost, this is loose enough to get almost overwhelmed and kind of...
Yeah, but like the DHR2 is good because it's like, the DHF has got the knob that goes like that, and that kind of like fills out with mud. So the DHR2's got better clearance. Yes. I used to just be DHF front and rear because that's what Sam Hill ran, and I think he was like my hero. Yeah, and now I run DHR2s. Front and rear, because I think the tyre actually just lasts a little bit longer without having that split knob. Yes, because that kind of tears off sometimes. So I just run those front and rear. I mean, variety is the spice of life, but too much choice can land you in trouble.
Sounds like you're speaking from personal experience.
Yeah.
So we just saw Bernard come down and he looked composed, and you were saying he was actually doing gapping features that were gnarly.
That no one else will be.
Yeah. Like, what makes him so good at this type of event? Is he just such a technically kind of proficient rider, or is it big cojones? You know, like what is it?
I'd say it's a combination of a lot of things. He's probably one of the most skillful riders on the planet in terms of all-round bike skill. He loves big jumps and loves to be the centre of attention when it comes to like doing big gaps and stuff, you know, it's something that he's like known for. And then being fast on a course like this lends itself to confidence, and he has an abundance of confidence. So like those probably 3 things are what means he's a 4-time podium guy. Yeah, so this is like a really good example of why you've got to like set your bike up harder and probably slow the rebound down, because you're coming in here and you've got these 2 rollers and then into a big steep lip.
Yeah.
And if your bike's too soft and the rebound's harder, then that lip is more likely to buck you, and you're probably not going to get the distance. Even if there was just this feature, you'd probably have to change your bike setup just to ride this, because you probably wouldn't be able to complete the course.
Yes.
And if you don't have your setup right, you're probably not going to be able to like do it.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, you would if it was just from this, you'd still have to do all the setup changes just to be able to get through this one. Hey!
Oh, so smooth.
Hey, Johnny just.
Yeah, he just made it.
So like, if you overshoot the step down at all, you really like start running out of your braking. And that's the whole like slowing the rebound down as well.
Yeah,
it's because
like tracking, I
like
suppose.
then it's not just going to get popped out of the ground. It's going to be slow to come up, and you can actually get on the anchors. Yeah, boy.
Not. Ooh, right. That was a big burn, but he was right at the top of it.
Yeah.
But coming through, you know, you can see him coming through there.
So like, he went pretty deep there.
And the bike wants to rise up.
Yeah.
As you're then trying to get on the anchors.
And it's real, like, one thing we haven't mentioned is it's really crucial to have a balanced bike.
Yes, of course.
Because like a lot of this, like even the janky rocks and stuff, when the wheels are going like that, if you can like keep that to a minimum, then you're going to have better braking, and it's just going to be a lot easier.
Totally,
yeah. And you get that from like a downhill setup.
Yeah,
you know, like
that's
long wheelbase and stuff. You're not like, you know, like free ride guys are riding like smaller bikes, but here you just want that balance.
But that's one of the things I really enjoyed when working with riders, was just talking about balance.
Yeah.
And just being like, right, so I feel like I'm a bit behind the bike or a bit in front of the bike, and just actually sounding out, and everything has a consequence, and it was just like chasing a conceptual perfect setup, and that for me was always like the most satisfying.
Yeah.
Manifestation of anxiety. Here he goes big. Oh, he goes big. Whew. You got the ankles
see
well.
That, like, he's set up a little bit wider on the left.
Yeah.
And that meant he could like cut in.
I've always thought Harry's a rider, just his body position is always so satisfying to look at.
Yeah.
Even you see him then, and he's getting right under braking, but he's getting the bike already off axis, and he's just like elbow down. It's amazing how high his bike was sat in its travel.
Yeah.
But still, you know, but using it all here, but through all there it was, you know, maybe 70%.
Yeah.
And then suddenly.
And it's like you're dropping off here and you're into a compression, the bike comes up, but you don't want to like let the wheels come off the ground at all here, because you need to have it planted to take off.
Yes.
It's just the whole thing again of juggling.
Yeah.
You know, you want one thing here, but you don't want it there, and then up there you want this, and so it's like, it's a really tricky one, but it makes it interesting for us.
Oh, totally, right? That's compromises racing, eh?
Yeah.
That's like a house. That's like a whole house.
Like if you get the section too good, like you really nail it, it can be a curse, because then you come off this drop with more speed, and you're going deep, and the landing's only getting smaller. So it's like you get punished for doing it too well. Yeah, so it's pretty funny actually. And I think I broke a peak head slapping on this actually. No. Yeah, just like boom.
Would you ever be tempted to wear a gum shield or anything like this? You had the rugby
but
kit
I've
yesterday.
actually like knocked a tooth out from hitting my bar. So
no.
Yeah, I probably should. Yeah.
Captain Hindsight on the case.
Yeah. Like it is rollable, but I wouldn't recommend it.
I might bring my trail back up afterwards. I got it in the car.
Like you're more than welcome to roll off it if you want.
Yeah, no, I think I will. Do these guys do patios? Because that looks fantastic. Yeah.
They're doing landscape. Red Bull going into landscaping.
So, pretty monstrous feature on
the finale.
The finale.
Yeah.
And we've seen some people actually kind of struggling, not necessarily for speed. I think it's more about like trajectory.
Yeah.
And casing. I mean, in something like this, would you run an insert?
I think you'll find a lot of the riders are running inserts. Hypothetically, if you popped a tyre coming into a takeoff and you've got a cush core in, you'll probably be sweet.
Yeah.
Like you can carry on rolling, and it's not going to just like blow up.
Yeah.
And then you're also like, with the rocky nature of the course, you're less likely to get flats with the insert, and the insert actually like holds the tyre
onto the bead.
On the bead.
Have you ever been tempted to glue the bead of the tyre to the rim?
Nah, because I just don't like extra work from a mechanic.
Such a nice guy.
Yeah. So
I think as well it invites.
And like if you're running carbon wheels and stuff, like it's going to get expensive, and it can, you know, you can break a rim.
Yes.
Yeah, whereas like alloy will dent.
Yeah.
But then if you're denting alloy rims, then you're losing tubeless.
Yeah.
So
True.
it's like, yeah, the insert just kind of helps everyone, riders and mechanics.
Well, and that is how you set up your bike for Red Bull Hardline.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the hard bit anyway. We could just, I'm going to make the
Yeah, the riding's easy. It's all about the bike setup. That's what the riders are struggling with.
I just want to say thank you very much for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's been my pleasure.
It's been really interesting. I would shake your hand.
Yeah, but, we can do a left-handed.
Bam, nice one. Cheers, guys.
See you later.